I'm delighted to tell you that Tomasz Oryński is on the line now. So, can we begin, Tomasz, not necessarily with what is in the article, that is a sort of analysis of where the problems come from, and begin with your thoughts on the government's latest wheeze to address these problems and ideally, hopefully, to solve these problems, which will be 5,000 temporary visas for foreign lorry drivers to come here until Christmas. Is that going to touch the sides, as they say?
Hello, everyone. No, I don't think so. I just spoke with some Polish drivers on my Facebook group, which is for the Polish drivers to exchange some banter and stuff like that, and they find it pretty amusing because although there's not as bad shortage of drivers in the EU as it's in Britain, the drivers are in high demand all over Britain, all over Europe. And if they can get a job in Scandinavia, in Germany, in France, name it, and they can get a job there, why would they come to Britain, jump through all those hoops just to get this 3 months visa and then be kicked out after Christmas?
This is point number, well, I'm going to find it now. In your 20 reasons, there is, I think it's in the top 5. This is the red tape that is now a consequence of trading between, number 2, actually, Brexit's red tape. And this is relevant as well. Britain is out of the European now, so the trucks coming in need to deal with customs clearances and border controls. We've postponed some of these, but of course, if they were to go back with a full load, then they could run the risk of being caught up in a massive car park again, like they were in the run-up to last Christmas.
Yeah, which was pretty terrible. And this is also a valid point why those people won't be really queuing up for those visas, because they do remember how Britain treated them in Manston Airport in last winter. I actually reported for that. I got a commission from one of the Polish papers, and I spoke with several of those drivers, and it was outrageous. It was such an inhumane way to treat people that
out of sight, out of mind, I think, Tomasz. So some of us tried to report it fairly and accurately, but we were still caught up in that post-Brexit deal stupor or euphoria, and I don't know that the public were ready to have cold water poured upon those triumphalist claims coming from government.
Yeah, maybe, but, Polish media did report it about that extensively, and, Polish drivers mostly read Polish media, and they do remember, and they will think twice before coming to Britain again.
Is there anything, if I put you in charge, is there anything, I mean, most obviously we could pay ridiculously high wages that might tempt people to endure both the privations and the inconveniences that you describe. Could that? I mean, are there people there in your line of work who, by the end of September, are in a position to weigh up who they're going to be working for the next 3 months?
Well, usually you work for a longer period of time, and you wouldn't quit your good job just to get 3 months stint in Britain. Especially as you have to keep in mind, all the good jobs are already taken in Britain, because, you have some drivers here who already are in the job. They do the good jobs. So you'll be getting the worst jobs, the crappiest jobs. You will probably work on agency, which is taking a significant chunk of the money you earn. You will be struggling to get accommodation for those 3 months. Many of them may just have no passports, because if they travel only in the European Union, they can just use a Polish dowód osobisty, like ID card, which is accepted all over the EU, and I think it's no longer accepted in Britain as of the oncoming October. So it will just... I honestly, I cannot think of genuine reason why anyone would want to go for it. Because if you really wanted to live in Britain, if you wanted to settle here, if you have some family here you would like to join, then 3 months doesn't really solve anything for you, especially if you know that you'll be kicked out after that.
Whereas every other European Union member country, of course, would still have freedom of movement.
European and beyond, because you can get a job in Norway, you can get a job in Iceland, you can get a job in Switzerland,
Yes, and enjoy the same dignities and respect that everybody else living and working in those countries enjoys. Could you help me with one more thing, Tomasz, which is the list of shortages in other countries makes for fairly arresting reading. I think most people listening to this programme understand that it's a sector that has constant shortages in place. It's never at full capacity, and that was why the warnings before the Brexit vote about making an already bad situation much, much worse probably shouldn't have been ignored. But how are those shortages manifesting on the roads of, let's choose Poland most obviously, because it's where you are from and it's where you will have most contact. So are we seeing shortages in Poland? Does the driver shortage impact on the shelves or the petrol station forecourts in Poland?
No, I've been in Poland a month ago, and all the shelves are full, everything you can get without any problems. And actually, yesterday I was looking for some articles in Polish about shortage of drivers.
Yeah.
Like when there's, not when they write that there's like a demand for drivers, but when there's actual shortage, there's vehicles that are driverless and cannot be sent on the road. And the only article I managed to find was an article from 2019 about a shortage of trolleybus drivers in Tychy public transport enterprise. So I was the only one I managed to find in a quick Google yesterday.
Where does the number come from then? Because it's Poland in particular is being cited as the European Union country with the most shortages.
Well, I found in the industry magazine which was writing about that, and it is written, I quote from my memory, so forgive me if it's not an exact quote, but the gist of that is that there is a shortage of Polish drivers, so we have to fill the vacancies with people from Ukraine, for example, or Romania or stuff like that. So because we are in the European Union and because we are still attractive markets for Ukrainian workers, we don't have shortages of local drivers. We can cover it with people coming from other countries.
I also wondered, just speculatively, whether or not if a Polish haulier or a Polish agency was looking to hire, they might be looking to hire drivers to do work outside Poland. It doesn't necessarily follow that the shortages reported are confined to routes and loads that would both begin and end in Poland, does it?
No, of course. And I would say the major part of the British, of the Polish haulage industry is in international transport. But you have also to remember we are still in the European Union. As I said, I just been in Poland and I've seen shop deliveries made by Czech guys on Czech plates trucks. Because I'm from Wrocław originally, which is near the south border, so it's like 2 hours drive from the Czech border. So because we are in the single market, even if you cannot get some stuff from your local wholesaler in Wrocław, you call the one in Brno and you will get it in 4 hours.
Yeah. So no light at the end of the tunnel then, from where you're sitting, from your cab. You can't see much light at the end of the tunnel.
No,
because we can't rejoin. No one's rejoining the European Union anytime soon. No, they're not going to bring back freedom of movement. Keir Starmer has said at the Labour Party conference in Brighton that that's not on their agenda either. So I don't quite see what the fix would look like. You've seen they've written to 100,000, I think, retired drivers, trying to tempt them back into the business.
I had I had a phone call from a lady that used to work for agency. I used to work 6 years ago, and she asked me if I want to work for her in her new agency. She was so desperate that she asked me if I can actually leave in 2 hours and go to Liverpool or somewhere, and she was willing to pay me £20 per hour for this run, which is quite a lot for Glasgow for a Class 2 lorry.
And if I were to hang up my headphones right now and try to train, how much would it cost me? How much would it take? And what would I be able to do at the end of that? Because I don't think anybody should, unless they're really desperate and their insurance company has had a day off. I can't see anybody wanting to put me behind the wheel of a 40-ton truck on day one as a qualified driver.
Well, if we believe the news in Britain, surely after the new way of training, you won't be able to reverse. But
well, that's Brexit Britain. We never reverse. We always move forward. How dare you suggest that that's not a good idea?
I guess so. But, I came to Britain back in 2005. I've been driving small vans. Then in 2006, I got my Class 2 license. I started driving 7.5 tonners. Then I went up for bigger lorries. And I would say you need a significant amount of experience to be a safe driver with such a big vehicle. So this idea that you can get a car drivers, just train them for 20 hours or something and put them into articulated 44-ton double-decker British-style lorries is just ridiculous. And I would think that I hope no sane haulier will allow drivers like that to go and drive these big trucks on the A1.
But what's the alternative?